open it up for questions, because sometimes I may not say what you're interested in. One of the things, last night we had to get together, and a lot of people that hadn't seen each other in years, and it was really a lot of fun. And Melinda and I were driving in this morning, and I said, of all the stories that I heard, I didn't hear one guy say, how many points I got in the game, or how many shots I didn't get, or, I didn't get enough minutes. Last night it was all about relationships and stories, and all I did basically is go to this 5 guys or 4 guys over here or over here someplace and just stand there and listen to hear stuff that I didn't even know went on. But from a basketball standpoint, we'd come off of a team that had gone to the Final Four of the NIT, and we lost 2 players, 2 starters, Marbury and Dominic. And a lot of people thought after the fact, after we had done well, and one of the reasons is that Dominic wasn't with us, and everybody had a chance to get, come together. But I'll say this about Dominic. To my knowledge, they all liked each other for the most part. And we felt like maybe if we'd had Dominic, we might have won it all. But we had a good foundation coming back. We ended up starting 2 seniors, maybe 3. It's kind of an inside story. Vern asked last night, Vern said, I was a senior. I thought 2 things. Either one, he graduated in 3 years, or 2, he was a 5-year guy. But anyway, Terry Fair and Lamar were seniors, and James and Vern were juniors, and Crosby was a sophomore. And we had a couple of freshmen, McMillan and Hartree, and a sophomore Corin, and another senior Floyd, and that pretty much took care of our rotation. And we didn't have a whole lot of size, but we were pretty good. I mean, and particularly as a team. We won a lot of games early. We got into January, we won games, and for whatever reason, whether it was coaching or playing or both, we flattened out in February. But the last game of the season, we beat Tennessee double digits, whatever, and we're going into the tournament. And everything came together defensively. You look at those scores, and they were down in the 50s and 60s and the low 70s. And we beat Ole Miss first, and I'm just say 14 points, and then we beat, I think, Tennessee like 19, and then Alabama 13, and then that took us into the first round, because back then we didn't have 68 teams in. I really don't remember exactly how many. It was enough that we got in, because we wanted the SEC championship for the first time. And we played VCU, and that was a really close game. I mean, I might have been tied at half, and we won by 2, or we were up 2 and tied in the second half. And I think James shot the ball. When you won and shot the ball, did everybody accuse Fair of tipping? I mean, her of tipping in.
It was a tip in.
No, it wasn't a tip in, because it was on the rim. You can't tell anybody it was a tip in.
Your memory's better than mine, for sure.
Then we were getting ready to go to Syracuse for the East, and we got snowed in. It snowed out up in Athens, and we had to come all the way down here to Macon to fly out on a 2-engine plane and get the whole way up to Syracuse. And we got up there, and they were being nice to us because Ohio State was there. We were there. University of Georgia was there. Carolina was there, and St. John's. And St. John's was seeded 1, and Carolina 2, Ohio State 3. We were 4 seed. And it was just, we were going to go through the motions, and that was setting up the finals between Carolina and St. John's. And we played St. John's, and it was a tough game. And somebody that played really well for us in that particular game was Terry Fair. He's not with us. Terry and Lamar and Troy Hitchcock, who was like 7'1" or something, weighed 190. But he played great. They had Whittington, and how tall was he, Vern? You remember?
Whittington, about 7 foot.
Yeah, and their shooter, James.
Chris Mullins.
Yeah, Chris Mullins. And they were good. In fact, they'd been on front Sports Illustrated, Beast of the East. And we played them until Fair got 26 points and 9 boards. Or it might have been 27 points, but, he played a great game. And our other guys played well, too, so we won. And now we were getting ready to go in and play North Carolina. North Carolina had Perkins, who I think was a first-round pick, and Daugherty, who was a 7-footer, and then they had another Daugherty, he spelled his name differently, but he was 6'8", and they had Braddock at the point guard, and Michael Jordan was the other guard. And so they were pretty good. But we were better than they were in that particular game. And one of the things that I like to talk about, and I talk about it all the time, was that in Terry Fair, he played an outstanding game against St. John's. He's not unlike probably 99% of players then and today. Everybody is interested in doing what? Going to the next level. So you figure, here's a guy going against a 7-footer, has an outstanding game, good defensively, comes into this particular game, got 11 points in the first half, but he picked up 3 fouls. And in the second half, he picked up his 4th foul. And so we put Richard Cord in, who was a sophomore. And he played really well. And he ended up, I think, with 7. Was playing doing a great job. And I never put Terry Fair back in. Now put yourself in his shoes. You want to go to the next level. You're playing well. And you're sitting over there, and you got another foul, but you can go in and play. But I didn't put him in. Richard played 18 minutes in his second half. We were up, I think, 15 with 5 to go, and we let them get back in, and they made a free throw or something. We ended up winning by 5. But stop and think about a guy who had 26 and 9 against a 7-footer, the #1 seed, going against the #2 seed, and they got 7 feet, 6'8", 6'9" in the front line, and he had 11 points in the first, and he never complained, or I would probably say bitched. He never complained about, why didn't I get in? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I get more minutes? Why? I mean, that was as unusual of a person that you know, you could coach, because it wasn't about me. It was about him being thrilled about, you know, Perkins said he didn't even know what conference we were in, and Fair answered it for him, the SEC. And then James, the game gets started and they zone us, and James comes in. He doesn't come in because he started, and he probably hit, I don't know, I know he hit 7 out of 10 for the game, but he probably hit 3 or 4 in the early part, because he took them out of their zone. And when they had to go man, guys like Vern, you know, and he able to use his ability, and he ends up with 16 or 18 points, and we end up winning that particular game. Now, another thing to brag on Lamar Hurd, Terry Fair was maybe supposed to be one of our most physical players. Mm-hmm. He led us in rebounds for the year. I think it was like 236, 237. I'm not sure. I mean, somebody sitting here, stats can, but it's close. I mean, I might be off one. But Lamar Hurd was a stick, you know, but a heck of a player. Well, let's say Fair had 237 rebounds, Lamar Hurd had 236. And he kind of held us together because he played a high post position. James tried to play a little bit when he was a freshman, but you know, the high post man got the ball a lot, but he was supposed to distribute it. And James would get in the high post, and somebody would step in, and James didn't hit him. I say, James, what the hell did you do? You got the ball. I didn't think he was open, coach. So he had put it airborne. He came to me, he says, Coach, can I play over there where they get the shoot? Crosby dominated the game from the point position. Was he you know, if you go out and match us up, you know, Hurd did a heck of a job on Perkins, held him 2 in the first half. Perkins, first round, I think he was the first round draft, you know, and Vern was going head to head with Jordan and Crosby. Point wise, I think you had 17 and Crosby had 17, and James had 20. So basically, we were individually we were strong, and where Gerald made his contribution was in the SEC tournament. I think he was like 21 for 28 in the 3 games that we played, and then up there he goes up and dominates Braddock. That was their point guard, and he was so much stronger. And so when you put all those together, that was the reason why that we were as successful as we were, because you know we were good individually, but we were better as a team. And so you know, I'll quit talking because you'll be able to get out and watch some of the games. So I guess you want these guys to say something.
We'll open up for questions.
Yeah, Vern and James. Yeah, kind of get back to the regional in Syracuse. You mentioned that St. John's team had Chris Mullen ranked #1. Everybody was looking forward to that St. John's, North Carolina matchup. Well, y'all as a group, as players, what was y'all, I guess, this mindset going into that regional? Obviously, you guys were underdogs. How did y'all use that as motivation for that day?
Well, we had just got back from winning the SEC tournament, and so when we got into the NCAA tournament, I think we were feeling kind of confident that we could beat anybody the way we played. As Coach said, I think as a team, we all play together, we all pull for one another, but I think the biggest key for us was Lamar.
Yeah.
He can do everything, and he do everything well. And he was one of the biggest reasons we could win games, because he made everybody better. And anytime you get a player like that, we're all good. And like Coach said, for me, they playing with guys like Gerald, who shoot the ball. Well, he probably was born before his time, so he wish he was born now. Because he was shooting the ball the way the guys shoot today. And, you know, that helped my game. So I'm a driver and stuff, so him out there, they can't leave him open. And then they got Banks on the other wing, they can't leave him open, so I can drive the basket. So, man, but I think we just play together and pull for one another.
Yeah, we've been together for a minute, and we played in the summers together as well. But we sort of made a pact in the sense of if we was gonna miss spring break during that year, we may as well go to the Final Four. It's kind of standing joke, but I think we really truly believe that, and just selfless guys. Vern was a high school All-American, I was a high school All-American. We played in Oakland, California back then. They should have 2 games, but he had already signed with Georgia, and you know we became really close. We was roommates our freshman year. He said, "Why don't you come to Georgia?" Because I was really interested in going to North Carolina. But after talking to him and then speaking to my family, but he really convinced me because we really became close out there. And I'm glad I made the right choice. Coach Durham just a heck of a coach and just a selfless group that we played with. We didn't care about who scored and things of that nature, like Coach Durham alluded to. And it's a fun group to be around. We're like family. Some people say that stuff like family, but I cannot see Vern for a couple of years, but it's like we never miss a beat, right? We keep in touch, and Coach Durham is always around. And Derek and I went up to out to Kansas City when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. And, his memory is amazing. I don't like to even, he can recall stuff like with time on the clock, right? And saying, you should have been doing this. It's a great, it's amazing gift. So it's just always great to be around him and spend time with Tim and Melinda as well. So it's like our parents when we were away from home as well.